If you've ever struggled to follow the audio and felt lost during the OET listening test, then this video is for you. Keep watching for the most up-to-date tips and advice. Hi there everyone, and welcome back to another OET video from Swoosh English. My name is Grace and I am your expert teacher for today. Now in this video, I'm going to share a simple yet effective strategy to help you follow the audio and avoid getting lost so that you can get a high score in your OET listening test. First, let's quickly review the structure of the OET listening test. It consists of 3 parts. Part A, you will listen to 2 medical consultations and complete sets of notes. In Part B, you will listen to 6 short extracts from a healthcare setting and answer 1 multiple choice question for each. And in Part C, you will listen to 2 long extracts, usually a presentation and an interview, and then answer multiple choice questions. Now, each section of the listening test presents its unique challenges, so it's crucial that you are properly prepared. Many candidates encounter the same challenges, such as losing track of the audio, getting lost, and missing key information. This can be really frustrating and affect your score. But don't worry, because I'm going to share my simple strategy to overcome this problem. My strategy is the 3 P's method. This is preview, predict, and practice. Let's look in detail at how each of these stages work and how it will help you to get a high score in your test. Step 1 is preview. In this stage, you are going to spend the time before the audio starts to quickly skim through the questions or the notes. In this stage, you're going to identify keywords, phrases, or headings, and in this way, prepare yourself for listening. If you've already got an idea of the key information that you're going to listen for, this will help to keep you focused when the audio begins. Let's take a look at the preview stage with our example question from Part A of the OET listening test. So we're going to take just a section of this task, and the first thing we will do is read the context statement and look at who we're going to be listening to and what they're going to be talking about. So in this example question, you can see that the healthcare professional is an ENT specialist, and they're going to be discussing hearing problems of the patient. Next, you can move on to look at the headings. Now, the headings will play a really important role in helping you keep track of the audio when you're listening to Part A. So just quickly skim through the headings and see the topics that will be covered during the consultation. Finally, you're going to identify the key words and phrases, as this is going to help you identify the information when you hear it being discussed in the consultation. Now we've completed step 1, it's time to move on to step 2, which is predict. Look at the words and phrases you've identified as keywords and try to predict the type of information that you might hear based on these words. This prepares your mind to listen to the audio and will be more likely to catch the correct answers as they come up in the conversation. Let's go back to our practice question and see how this works in practice. Now let's use these keywords and phrases to help us predict the type of information we might hear. Looking at number 1, we know that it's probably going to be a type of test that we listen for, because we've got the hearing appeared normal at and then screening test. So it's most likely going to be the name of a type of test. And if you've already got the knowledge of an ENT specialist, you could even go so far as to predict the specific test that you're going to hear. Next, number 2, last year had something which is now resolved. Given the context and the words surrounding that gap, it's most likely going to be a symptom or a condition. Moving on to number 3, looking at the heading, we know that the conversation will turn to the reason for the referral, and it says the patient often requested something during conversations. Keeping in mind that this is about hearing problems, we can make a pretty good guess that perhaps the patient requested repetition. We do know by the structure of this that it's going to be a noun, so we've really prepared ourselves to listen out for the answer here. Now, number 4, we've got someone who was asked a question he didn't always answer. Again, thinking about the fact that this is hearing problems, using what we know and what we can guess. It's probably going to be a location, so perhaps someone who was far away from him or behind him, maybe. And number 5, a routine screening test carried out at, probably going to be a place because of that preposition at. So you can see here that we've started to really think about the types of words and phrases that we're going to hear, and in this way we prime our ears and our mind to hear the answers when they come up in the recording. Now we've made our predictions, in the real listening exam it will be time to listen for the answer. In this strategy, my 3rd step is practice. Regular and consistent practice is absolutely crucial in your OET listening preparation, as it helps to build up your stamina and get you used to listening out for the type of information you're expected to hear. So the 3rd stage is practice, and that will be really important in preparing you for the real exam. Now I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about parts B and C, because the way that you approach those will be slightly different to how you approach part A. So let's talk about that now. Now for parts B and C, we're dealing with multiple choice questions. We're going to talk about the strategy for these using part C as an example. And as with part A, step 1 is still going to be preview. So you're going to read the context statement, which is given before the questions, so that you know who you're listening to and what they're talking about. From this context statement, we can see that it's an endocrinologist giving a presentation about a condition that affects female athletes. So now we've previewed that part, we're going to move on to the questions and answer options. And again, we're identifying key words and phrases. And you can see here that I've identified words and phrases that I think are important, that are going to help me listen out for the correct answer. So step 1, preview, is largely the same, looking out for the key words and phrases. Now moving on to step 2, the predict stage. Be very careful. The answers that you select must come from the audio. Now this means that while it's certainly a good idea to look at the context of the audio and ask yourself what you already know about the topic, it's very important that you select your answers based on what is stated in the audio, not on what you think the answer should be. So in this prediction stage for the multiple choice questions, there's only so much prediction you can actually do. Really, the idea is that we are preparing our mind, preparing our ears to listen based on the context of the words and phrases we've identified as keywords. So now we've looked at a strategy to help you prepare to listen to the audio, but what about once the audio started? How can you make sure that you don't get lost and you keep track? Well, firstly, in part A, you can use the headings as a guide. So as you remember from our example question, each section of the notes that you're completing will have a heading, for example, medical history or symptoms. You can use these to keep track of where the conversation is. So if the people in the audio start talking about medical history, you can find where they are in the notes, and this can help you to keep track and not get lost. In part C, there are a couple of ways you can help yourself to keep track of the audio. Firstly, if you are listening to an interview, you can use the interviewer's questions to help you. Very often, the question that the interviewer asks will correspond to the section you need to listen to for each multiple choice question. So once they move on to the next interviewer's question, you can pretty much assume that they've moved on to the next question in your question paper. Now, of course, you do need to pay attention, but this can be a useful way to keep track of the conversation and not get too lost. If you're listening to a presentation, you can listen out for signposting language. This is language that the presenter will use to signal perhaps a change in topic, moving on to something new, or summarizing a point. So if you're not familiar with signposting language, that is something that you can use to help you prepare to listen in Part C. Another essential tip to help you follow the audio and not get lost is to stay calm and not panic. It's really important once the audio begins that you stay as focused as possible, and if you do miss an answer, don't worry. If you can write a guess, that's a good idea, and then continue to listen for the rest of the answers so that you don't miss them. So try to stay calm and not panic. And my final piece of advice is to practice as much as possible. Remember the 3 Ps, so preview, predict, practice. If you follow those steps in your preparation, you'll give yourself the best chance of getting a high score when it comes to the real exam. Well, that's it for this video, and I hope you found it useful. Now, if you are looking for more expert tips and advice to help you pass your OET exam with confidence, I'd like to invite you to our free OET Masterclass. In that session, you will get access to even more tips and support to help you through your OET exam preparation. So the information on how to sign up for and attend that session can be found in the description below this video. I hope to see you there, and in the meantime, happy studying.